Great. Yes, thanks, Riley. Perhaps towards the end of the workshop, you could put the link in the demo or in the chat there, the Teams link for our community chat. As well, I would like to mention that I am the manager of the Ecology Teaching Labs, and so I'll be leading this presentation today, but you've already heard and seen Riley, who is a full-time co-op assistant with us this term. As well, Bev Rambeau, another staff member in the lab, will be joining us, as well as Shane. So between the four of us, I trust that everything will be able to answer your questions and participate in the chat. If you have any questions, across the top there is a hand icon, so you can raise your hand. Also feel free to unmute yourself. It's a casual demonstration here today. Plus we'll have time to talk when we're actually planting our seeds and working through our kits. If your sound is of poor quality, across the top there are 3 dots that when you click will show you quite a few options in Teams, and you can turn on live captions. So you will be able to read text of what I'm saying as well. Okay, and I think that's about it. I will be toggling through this PowerPoint presentation. We have several slides to get through, and then I'll toggle onto my dining room table area here where the equipment lists where our equipment is. So if there are any issues, just please, speak up and let me know. Okay. So the first slide here, native plant container gardening. As I mentioned, this is part of our ENVigorate workshop, and funding was generously provided by WWF Canada, Go Wild School grants. So we were able to purchase these kits and either have them shipped to your home address or available for curbside pickup outside of the building. So we really we are incredibly grateful for their funding there. And Riley, if you could just let me know, did the slide advance and were you able to see that okay?
Yep, we're on to the next slide.
Great, thanks. Okay, so what we have mailed out to you are a packet of seeds. They are, there's a variety of native plant seeds. And for those of you that may not be aware, there is a few variations on how to define a native plant. But here are a few points that the terms generally include where that plant is growing naturally in an area or is indigenous or local to that area. So you may hear a plant that is regionally rare, or a plant that is specific to a bog. It has existed in this growing area for many years, and by many years we are talking on the time scale of hundreds of years. So there have been many non-native invasive plants that have been introduced since the European settlement from a couple hundred years ago. So we are talking prior to that, so natural to our untouched environment. This is becoming a gray area though, because there are naturalized species, and a common plant that we say is native to Canada is a goldenrod. So you may have heard of the Canada goldenrod. It has naturalized to our local conditions, our climate, our soil conditions, and we do call it a native plant, although it was introduced with colonization. So, but it has been here for at least a couple of hundred years and has thrived. And so it's always been amongst the naturalists. It has been debated for some time, but there's always exceptions to the botany rule there. So why do we plant native plants? Why aren't we planting ornamentals or invasive plants, etc.? These native plants have evolved with and acclimatized to our local soil conditions and as well our local climate conditions. And native plants require minimal maintenance. They do not require a lot of water. They do not require high volumes of fertilizer, heavy pruning, and all that maintenance that comes with perhaps more of an ornamental garden or manicured landscape. And so this is what makes it desirable to plant these in our gardens and as well when we're walking along trails and taking a look at our natural landscape. They have also evolved alongside other native plants as well as other taxa like insects, fungi, bacteria. So we have these symbiotic relationships, and that diversity provides a healthy ecosystem and a balance of those relationships and maintaining that ecological integrity ideally. These insects, particularly pollinators, they rely on these native plants as a food source and as well for habitat too. Introducing non-native or perhaps these ornamental varieties, ones that are kind of cool looking, genetically modified and bred in greenhouses, they don't necessarily provide the food source for our native pollinators. In fact, a lot of these ornamentals are bred to reduce the pollen, the quantity of pollen for allergy reasons and as well aesthetics, with the pollen blowing around. So that is not benefiting our existing natural ecosystem. And overall, they are beautiful and diverse, as you can see from these pictures here. And in future slides, I have pictures of the seeds that the plants that you're planting as well. So collecting seed is an ideal and economic option for growing native plant seeds. You can simply purchase seeds. There are a lot of nurseries now and garden centers that are offering native seed packets, but you can also harvest your own if you know how to identify the plant and know where particular native plants are growing that you are seeking out. If you are on private property, you always want to ask for permission to harvest first. And you also want to wait until the seed is mature. So that will be late summer, early fall, and it will not be right now. Pretty much the wind and our weather conditions have blown away all of our seed right now, as well as birds. So early fall is when you want to gather seed. And you want to be responsible. You do not want to harvest the entire area and leave zero seed for regeneration. So you want to take only about 10% of the seeds. As well, growing momentum with seed libraries. So our local libraries have seeds and seed exchanges. So you can check that out as well. So you cannot simply gather the native seed in the fall, put it in an envelope over the winter, and sprinkle it in your garden the following spring. There are one, if not two steps that you will need to do in order to have your seed germinate. during the growing season. And the first step is stratification. Stratification, what that means is that those seeds need to be cold for a few months. So what this is the seeds will remain dormant, so they will be in a cold climate. So let's say the seeds drop from the plant in early fall, ground freezes, snow covers, they are sitting in cold, moist soil for 3-4 months. It is when they are in this dormant stage that it's called stratification. If we are harvesting seeds, we need to do the same. We need to mimic those winter cold months. And so this is what we did with your packet of seeds that you have. We placed them in moist soil in the fridge back in December, actually. So almost 4 months. They have been dormant, and the stratification has been done for you. Scarification is a term where we have those really tough outer coating of seeds. So the winter freezing and thawing process helps to break down that hard seed coat or that seed shell. And if you are harvesting those seeds that are hard and that have that covering, you will need to mimic that scarification as well by rubbing briskly with sandpaper or trying to etch it somehow, nicking those shells in order to grow those seeds for the following season. Okay. So growth requirements, not really that onerous with native plants. There are specific requirements such as sunlight, moisture, ideal temperature, and soil conditions. The native species that you received are adapted for our Southern Ontario climate conditions. They will need sun for at least part of the day, so 3 hours or more, as well as full sun. They will also grow best in moist soil, so you do not want standing water, real saturated soil, otherwise they will become moldy and even decompose. They will tolerate some periods of drought, but ideally you would like moist soil until they are established and growing there. And you do not need to add any additional nutrients, fertilizer, or anything. The soil that's provided to you is sufficient to kickstart that growth. So in your kit, you will see a packet of seeds. Those were collected by the lab staff around our environment buildings. So we maintain several naturalized gardens on campus, and we gathered, I believe it was last October, a variety. And so those species are listed on your packet there. They were packaged in moist soil, placed in the fridge in December, as I already mentioned. You received 2 planting containers. We finally sourced a plastic pot that was made from 100% recycled ocean plastic. So that was nice to see. As well, we have a Jiffy pot made of compressed peat. The potting soil contains mycorrhiza, and so those are kind of the roots and filaments of fungi, which forms this symbiotic relationship with plants to help one another thrive. And so here are the species that hopefully you will see towards the end of the summer and early fall. And a couple of container gardening tips here. So do not overwater. The soil should be moist, but again, no standing water. What's really nice about these plastic pots is that there's a built-in reservoir tray along the bottom. And so the excess water will pool away from that soil. If possible, rainwater would be best for watering, and at a minimum, hard tap water, so not water that has been softened with water softener. You want to place your pots in a sunny location, and you can start to move those pots outside once the last frost has passed. So if you do have a sunny location right outside your patio door or on a patio, back deck, etc., close to the house, then that is sufficient too. So a couple of options for your native plant pots. There are many seeds in your seed packet. So you will probably see some competition or sprouting that will appear like they will start to choke one another out. So you may need to thin those out, and as well some may die. So that's why we have filled up with more seed than what would normally be planted, I guess. So your options are, once they have started sprouting and they have reached a significant size, that you can move it to a larger pot, especially if you'd like to keep it as a patio or a deck pot. That is fine. Or you can transplant to an outdoor garden early in late spring as well. Again, after all chance of frost has passed. And so you will separate those seedlings, trying to minimize the disturbance of those roots. They're very delicate, and the seedlings are very, very delicate. Your seeds that are planted in the Jiffy pots, however, because it's made with compressed peat, they can be planted directly into a larger pot or into a garden. And so what I would recommend is just either, scoring or breaking apart the bottom of the pot so the roots can easily penetrate through into the soil or into your ground. Okay. There's something else I wanted to mention. Oh yeah, hardening your seedlings. So you do not want to take your pot of your seedlings and right away place out into the garden. You want to, the term is called hardening, where you will put them out on your deck to allow some sun and wind. And so that will strengthen those the stems and those leaves, and then you bring them in. And then keep bringing them in and out of the house or your apartment in order to toughen them up, essentially, before placing out into your patio for the summer or into your garden for the summer. Otherwise, they'll be incredibly stressed if they just go right from indoor to outdoor to strong wind and sun. Okay, so now I was going to turn on my camera and do the demonstration. Are there any questions at this point here? Okay, I'm seeing, okay, great. Okay. Okay, so Riley, could you just tell me, is my screen maximized?
Yep, I see you as the big screen.
Okay, good, good, because I cannot, but that's okay.
And so we've got a question. When we move them outside, do we need to water them, or is just rainwater enough?
Yeah, you'll want to keep it moist. Yeah, and so when you move your pots outside, they will dry quicker than when they were inside, right? Because of the sun and wind. So being exposed to the elements now. Okay, I'm just going to, I'd love to just see myself in the spotlight here.
I was just going to add to what you just said, Anne.
Yes.
When you move them outside, though, if you do put them in the ground, as Anne mentioned, they are native and they should be more tolerant of the natural conditions. So if they're in the ground and established, the rainwater should be good. Would you say, Anne?
Yeah, once established, yeah, and that's what is great about the about planting the native plants. Once they're established, it's incredibly low maintenance. Okay, so I actually have my laptop kind of Velcroed here. And Lionel's around too, so if, yeah, so he may have to help me with. Okay, so I hope you guys can see everything here. And I hope everyone received their kits in the mail too. We were counting on Canada Post to get them out to you in about a week and a half. So if you do not have your kits, this presentation is recorded. You can always refer to it after. And as well, feel free to just email us or reach out to us as well. Okay, so what I did is I grabbed a bowl and started mixing my soil with water. And I believe those were on in your instruction sheets as well, to moisten the soil. And if you did not do that, that's fine. You can go ahead and do that now. You will notice it's somewhat hydrophobic. It's almost like trying to stir in hot chocolate. So I had to add some water, stir it up, add some more. And the reason why we do this is so that when we put the soil into the planter and then sprinkle the seeds and spread out the seeds, that they don't all float up to the top. And so we moisten it so it's nice and dense, and then the seeds will stick to our soil mixture and not trickle with the water, you know, and off to the side or bunch up in a pool of water that's in our pot there. So this large bowl here, it actually did fluff up, and I used almost one full baggie here. And I hope that we gave you extra soil that it will fill both of your pots, and perhaps even some other cells or pots that you have at home too. So what I'm going to do is I will start filling up my pot, and I'll show you, and feel free to do this as well. And I hope you can see there's no standing water, and there's also no dryness either. It is completely, it is saturated and wet, but water is not being squeezed out of this. So I like to allow some headspace at the top of the pot. So I do not fill it right up to the brim. So you think about when you're watering, you don't want it to all overflow there. So I'm going to try to fill it up to these ridges here that we have in our pot. I'm hearing a couple of dings, but I can't see the chat right now, so feel free to unmute yourself or okay. So I hope everyone can see that. So that is soil up to the top of the ridge there. And so now I have my seed packet, and I hope you were storing this in your fridge. I actually noticed some are sprouting already. In my packet, I have common milkweed, black-eyed Susan, thimbleweed, nodding onion, and hairy beard tongue. So I'm just going to cut. And you know what? I'm actually going to pour my whole seed packet into the pot here because I do want to split it over a couple of pots. So what I did is I just emptied the contents into my bowl here. I could see already some seeds, some that are sprouting, and I'm going to take a few pinches and sprinkle right on top. Now, the depth of where these seeds should be placed in the pot, it will be shallow. We don't want it too deep because we use the moist soil here to just kind of mix it around. So it'll probably be 3 centimeters depth. Okay, so about an inch deep for the seed there. I'm just going to take this time to open up the chat and make sure. Okay, oh good. Everyone's sharing their resources here, so be sure to open up the chat and have a look. There's a couple of great resources here. Thanks, Bev. Okay. So I am going ahead and sprinkling. And where seed is concerned, I'd rather have a bit more to account for survival rates, any casualties along the way. And so now I'm just using my fingers and covering up those seeds. I guess the other option next time is holding back a little bit of this soil too, so I don't have to be folding it in as I am right now. And my soil is incredibly moist, so I will water just a little bit. Again, I don't want to have it dripping, but I will water it
and also our social media website and everything else like that is on that link tree. And to answer the question about the ocean plastic pots, we got them from Canadian Tire. They had a few different that line that was the recycled ocean plastic, and I believe it was called Bloom.
Okay. Can you see that now, the connect with us there? Shane, can you see the social media slide?
Yes, I can see it.
All right, great.
Miranda asked about the ingredients that make up the soil mixture. I can send the link or something like in the chat for that product. I'll just go look it up. Because yeah, I don't think we included the composition of that soil mixture.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so that is the end of our workshop here. We have 7 more minutes though, if there's any questions or just general discussion, we'll hang around, and then we will be logging into our Teams community chat for 2 p.m. as well, if we wanted to continue on the conversation. So thank you for taking the time, and enjoy, and be sure to send us pictures of your successful plantings too.
Yes, tag us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you want to post it on your story or make it a post. We would love to see it.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Riley, the whole team. Thank you for sending us the kits.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, bye for now. Bye.
Thank you so much. It was really nice.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, yeah, you're welcome, everyone.
Hey, Anne, can you hear me?
I can. Hi, Sian.
Hi, how are you?
Good, good.
I was just wondering, what are these? Can you see it? Like
Yeah,
it's like
they're
it's like a
sprouting.
sprout. Yeah. So what plant is it? Do you know?
Oh, let me see.